That's a magic number. Yes, it is. It's the magic number.
What does it all mean?
Hello and welcome to Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy. That's me, Matthew Syed. We've got some fantastic topics this week. Terrorism, punditry and dressing room pranks. But first, we had a head-to-head ping pong challenge, me, Fred and Robbie last week. And not to put too fine a point on it, I destroyed you both. All the big talk, Robbie.
Whoa.
21-6.
Well, you were saying originally you will not get a point off either of us. We both got 6 points off you. You were the Britain's number one. Two Herberts, who don't even play table tennis, have taken 6 points off you. And what is even more embarrassing, how serious you took beating a 15-year-old girl. It was pathetic.
Okay,
you was doing the Tim Entman fist pump. You was doing all that. Come on, she come as a favour. She's left. You've destroyed her hopes. You've destroyed her dreams. You should have a word with yourself. Find the mirror. Well, I was going to say have a look at it, but I won't want to see it.
and your gear was horrendous.
No branded gear. What does he turn up?
Yeah.
He's sponsor from 1972.
You didn't like the shorts. By the way, before I played you two had a head-to-head challenge. What happened there?
I wasn't going to mention that.
Well, I think I will. Well, we only played to 11. I think it was 11-8. It was a competitive game. We did play after to 21, and Freddie won 21-17 in the second game. So we drew 1-1. But I've got to say, Matthew, I was slightly disappointed in you. I thought you would have been better than what you were.
I echo that. I echo that.
Let's just rewind. So before we played the head-to-head challenge, you said to me, I think I'm going to beat you.
You know, if I played for 6
when I was
months...
10-1 up, you said to me over the net, whispered, give me a few more points. Then I beat you 21-6, and you're saying that I let myself down.
Well,
I thought you were poor.
I did. I reckon you need to write a new book, you.
Yeah.
20,000 hours. 10,000 hours is not enough for you, Matthew Syed.
You're poor, mate.
And just to give credit to Charlotte.
Don't start doing that now.
Totally
credit to Charlotte.
Wasn't she brilliant?
She was brilliant, but you was embarrassing. You was embarrassing.
You were embarrassing, man.
It's a bit of fun. She's turned up. She's playing in a big tournament. Everyone's watching, and you just wanted to ridicule. You wanted to beat a 15-year-old girl.
You didn't even say sorry when you got a few flukes, when the ball at the net and bounced over. You didn't even just say sorry, Charlotte. You just fist pumped.
What I can't believe about this is if I'd lost to Charlotte, you would have been all over me. You'd have been saying it's to do. I go out there to win. Rather than,
it's a fair point. He said there's nothing ever coming second.
Yeah.
Fred in the air. Good point, man.
Look, it's a 15-year-old girl.
I quote, gold or
yes, good point.
Not against Charlotte. And to be honest with you, them little shorts you had on must have been putting her off.
You can catch that head-to-head challenge on the BBC Radio 5 Live website. We'll go on to topic number 1. This is a really interesting one. Punditry. What makes a great pundit?
We're not going to ask Robbie, are you? Don't ask Robbie. What are you going to ask him?
Robbie's just left the studio.
What makes a great pundit?
This is your topic, Robbie.
Well, it's a very, very good starting point then, Matthew.
It's hot in here, Rob. Is it hot? What's wrong with you? You've gone bright red. What's wrong? Come on.
So basically, I want to say, when you retire, it's a second career and what it takes to be a pundit. So basically, I think you want to be a pundit because you want to continue that love for the game you've had. Did I want to go down the coaching route? Did I want to just retire, put my feet up? I wasn't financially, in a position to do that. I need to work. So I thought being a pundit, because I love it. I do love what I do. You do the radio because people think you will get thousands and thousands of pounds with the radio, but you get a nominal fee to go.
What do you mean? You get a nominal fee?
Nominal, a small fee.
Well, what are we talking? What are we talking?
10 grand.
What?
15? What are we talking for you to go and turn up and watch a midweek match and pontificate over it? What do they pay you?
A few £100.
A few £100?
A few £100.
No way.
Yeah, a few £100. Listen,
I think that'll surprise
people.
Do you get petrol money?
I don't claim. I don't know if you should claim. I don't.
You should with that car of yours. It probably cost you a fortune.
It cost you more than £300 to get there.
But I just go because I love it. I can't be bothered writing out expenses sheets. It's
beneath you, is it?
Yeah, but no,
you
but
don't
not
need the
beneath
cash.
me.
You don't need
No,
the
but
cash.
I don't need to do. I don't. I do.
What about your PA? Why doesn't?
Because I just, I don't do it. I don't put expenses sheets in. I just do it because I love it. So you might. So basically, if I'm doing Arsenal, I'll leave midday yeah, in my car, stop the service to get a bite to eat, do the game.
You eat. Hang on. You eat at service station.
Yeah, always have a egg custard.
And custard.
Remember
service
This is a real insight. You're living the dream, Robbie, aren't you? Since retirement, you're living it, aren't you?
Is this at Keele on the
No,
bridge?
it's before It's a
What's a
little
few
garage.
cars?
It's a little garage. So I have an egg custard. Remember the old fish and chips crisps?
Yes.
You love them.
Oh, yeah, I do love them.
The sort of baked one.
Yeah.
Curry sauce.
Yeah, they've changed curry sauce, and I'm not too keen on them. Anyway, so I'll get me a few.
Too spicy.
Yeah, and I get my stuff in the car ready for the journey home. So basically, you'll leave at 12. If you do the London game, you probably get home for 2, 3 in the morning for a few hundred
And
quid.
that's genuinely
Genuine.
amazing. So that is, I think, fair
So
to
I
say.
do that.
Love of the game.
I do that because I love it. And radio, you can be a bit more expressive. You know, you can be a bit more passionate. You know, and you've got to be able to tell people what they can't see.
Yep.
And that's where telly's a bit more different and difficult where you commentate in the game.
Just on the radio, did you have to have a lot of training in order to figure out how much you should say and when you should say it?
Yeah, because I'm not grammatically
serious question.
my grammar is not the best, as I think we found out, and you know, I do speak a bit quick sometimes. I've got a nasal problem, you know. Well, I have. I get hammered, don't I? Let's be fair. I do get hammered.
You've got a nasal problem.
You can see if you could do that now, when I do that, look, one nostril goes in. So
I hope we're getting this on
but
video.
I broke my nose, didn't I, a few times.
Okay.
So I speak nasally, and
Yeah.
I speak a bit quick sometimes when I get excited.
Can I ask you a question?
yeah.
Do you think you're in the right profession?
I've often asked myself that. You know, sometimes you ask yourself that when you do something, you just get hammered on social media. But that's the difference. That we've done that debate. So that would be a radio 606.
Yep.
I love that. That's more me. The passion, the engagement, arguing.
Yeah.
There's been some great calls on 606. And then I work for BT Sport, obviously.
Yep.
Lucky enough to do the Champions League. You know, I'm covering Leicester City at the minute. It's been amazing. The call commentary, you have to do your research. You know, that is a big thing for me. And I didn't realise when I first started being a pundit, I thought I'd just turn up and get on with it. You know, but then you get found out very, very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, and it only because I just thought it's another hobby I'm doing. And I didn't realise the criticism and not knowing your stuff. I can tell people who've not done their research. I can. When I watch them, when I listen to them, you know, and I think now, you know, Freddie knows me, you know me, you would say I do like my research.
Yeah.
I do, because you have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get found out. So that's a big thing. The TV commentary, you just get hammered. No matter who you are, you just get hammered. And it's like, to a point where you're just thinking, why don't you lot just...
But don't you think
expletive off?
It's just become a routine where people will take the mickey out of co-commentator, no matter who it is, no matter what they do, and it starts to trend on Twitter.
Yeah, but let's be honest, Matthew. From time to time, they don't help themselves. They really don't. Like, so some of the things you've said. My favourite is when you said, "Mark Hughes has crossed every I and dotted every T." you said it in a Welsh accent rather than half Jamaican.
Yeah, I do say few
What
things.
about this? What about this one? You've said. What about this one? There are kids out there that would chop their legs off to play football for Brighton. What? Chop their legs off to play for
I bet there's
Brighton.
other arms.
Well, they still struggle with no arms. What do you mean? Oh, that's all right then. They'll chop their arms off.
But you know what? There's a saying. What's the saying? What's that saying?
would give his right arm.
Whatever that saying is, it's not that.
Yeah, but you know what I meant.
Chop the legs
He
off.
didn't say.
Yeah, I did.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Look, I've got it here. Rob's on about research. I've done my research.
I tell you, Robbie's got it. He chose this now. What's the next one?
There you go.
Yeah, but I did say it. But I just get excited, don't I? Because I'm not that well educated. I get stuff wrong. I know that.
That's nothing to do with educated. That's basics. Basics. If you've got no legs, you're not going to play football. It's called football. Football.
That was a mistake I made. Anyway, going back to punditry. So basically, the thing that gets levelled at me or labelled at me is when I'm doing the Champions League, when I was doing the World Cup or the Euros. Hang on, why is he doing that? He's never played in it. Yeah. Which okay, sometimes you can accept that, but you could label that as some of the greats.
Yeah.
Look at who do I think's good? I think Rio Ferdinand's brilliant. Top draw Rio. You know, he's stylish. He speaks well. He's been in every situation possible. The same as Gary Neville. But The top pundits.
Hang on, top.
I would say Gary Neville and Rio Ferdinand for me stand out. That's just my opinion. Because Gary Neville, the way he broke down that Stoke goal on a Monday night show was brilliant. Rio Ferdinand, the insight he gives Steven Gerrard. Now, I seen at the weekend when he was saying he was striving to be the best every day in training. He was saying that going home, if he'd think about his training session next day, want to be the best. Steven Gerrard, I think's grown into it. But
who are the bad ones?
Oh,
well, that's difficult to say. A lot of people think me.
It's a bit harsh for him, that, isn't it? But do you fancy playing a little game? Let's play a little game. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quote from a famous football pundit, and you've got to tell me who it is. The accent, I'm going to do the accent, so it might be a little bit of a giveaway. All right, we're ready. The first one. Why don't they score? Oh, no, I'll start again. I've got my quote right.
Who was that?
When they don't score, they hardly ever win.
That's
I knew that
Michael
was.
Owen.
Michael Owen. That's the brilliant.
But I think Michael Owen, when you listen to him, speaks well.
Hang on a minute.
I'll
I'll contradict you there. Listen to this one. It's a good run, but it's a poor run, if you know what I mean. I don't know what you mean, Michael. I've got no idea. Is it a good one? Is it a bad one? Tell me. Tell me, Michael.
I think Michael Owen was unfairly criticised. And I think being a pundit...
You think Michael Owen's a good pundit?
Here we go.
Yeah, I do. I really do. I really, really do, yeah.
So who don't you rate?
Well, it's not for me to say it. Well, I look at... lots of pundits.
He is prevaricating brilliantly here.
But do you know what I'll say, though?
Another one here for Michael. It's hit the facial part of his head. That's his face, Michael. That's his face. You don't have to say the facial
I'm going to
part
stick
of his
up.
head.
I'm going to stick up for Michael. I think in front of the camera, he's brilliant.
And he's
the
good.
call commentary, no matter who you are, you get hammered, annihilated. You know, some of these people on Twitter are a disgrace. I'd love to get them in here and do a game with
Well,
us.
defend this one. Footballers these days have to use their feet.
Was that me? Who's that?
You don't even know that was Michael again.
You said earlier, Robbie,
Yeah.
you said that Ferdinand and Neville were top pundits. And I've noticed that when pundits get into the game of punditry, there is a series of phrases that are always used. Stonewall penalty. What the hell has Stonewall got to do with a penalty?
It's just to say it, isn't it? It's just to say.
Well, they'll say, this player, he wants to get to the level of the Gerrards, the Lampards, the Scholeses. Why do you say not? He needs to get to the level of Gerrard.
I've no
Scholes,
idea.
and Lampard.
I've no idea. But I've never heard that they need to get the level of Savage. Something I can't really say. But when you say about pundits, the best, for I've said Rio, Gary Neville, people like that. But what's levelled at me is, well, why is he doing that? Because he's never played in the Champions League, the World Cup. The same you could say about these top pundits. They've never been in relegation battles. Mm-hmm. So how can they talk about inside that dressing room when the pressure's on of keeping people their jobs? Okay, they've had different pressures of winning titles. So I think every pundit, has got their pluses and minuses. But I think you're a pundit because you love it. The people that not irritate me, are the people who maybe in their careers never stopped and talked to the press. Yeah. Now, the pundits. People might say there's a few. One would say Paul Scholes. Mm-hmm. Paul Scholes, you never heard from him when he played. Yep. But what I'll say, being around him, magnificent is the insight, and I'd rather listen to him than a lot of people, because what he says, he just says it how it is. The same you could say about Chris Sutton, Roy Keane. Roy Keane, I'm not sure he's analytical, but what he says, you listen to him, and I'll pause the TV. Not pause the TV, he don't need to watch it. But I'll stop.
What about Garth Crooks? Who dresses him? Who dresses him? I tell you what, he loves a cardigan and shirt combo, doesn't he? Or a tank top with buttons combo. Oh, Garth, I like Garth. But he must just run past the BBC wardrobe department. He must not even pop in. Come on, someone. He dresses like Stevie Wonder. Here we go. He's got a great quote here, Garth Crooks. And he's an educated man. He got into politics at one point, but I love this quote from Garth Crooks. Football's football. If that weren't the case, it wouldn't be the game that it is. Really, Gav? Really?
You're loving this, isn't
It's brilliant.
Robbie, did you
Graham
ever...
Rousseau. I got Graham Rousseau. He's described Graham Rousseau. As soon as he's mentioned, he is an educated footballer, just on the strength that he can read The Guardian. That is why Graham Rousseau is educated. It's a low bar, I know that, but he's trying. But one of Graham Rousseau's quotes: both goals he scored hit the target.
Well, Robbie, did you ever have a pundit who made comments about you when you were a player and it affected the way you approached the game, or angered you so much that it affected the way you trained or your psychology?
Well, not when I was a player, but as a pundit, I get John Terry, in his press conference said, I'm sure I'll be corrected. He had a go at me, said I don't really listen to him because he never played at a high level. Did
that hurt?
No, it didn't hurt, but it didn't hurt at all. No, because I always try and speak the truth as a pundit. I never make things up. I never say things for effect. Yeah. Everything I say on radio, TV, and on 606, I honestly believe, and I don't care.
Can I ask you? I remember that when John Terry came out, and I thought John Terry was completely out of order. He said you had no career, which was
no career. That was it.
Complete joke. But with John Terry coming into a press conference and saying that, does that mean you doing your job well?
I think so, I think so, because I think what I said at the start of that season was Man City away, and John Terry, I think he got taken off at half-time, and I said, listen, age comes to us all. John Terry's never been quick, but he gets in the right position. He's been a fantastic captain, one of Chelsea's greatest ever players, but at a time, I said, I don't think he'll play that much that season, because you can see they might try a different... And it was true. It come true. So for him to have a go at me his press conference, I thought was bizarre, but it was his opinion. I think whether it's Freddie, you on football, Matthew on football, the fans out there, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Yeah. I'm just one of the fortunate ones who can express it wrongly or rightly. I rub people the wrong way, but that's the beauty of... The only difference between me and the fan on the street is I get a platform to express my opinion. Their opinions are as valid as mine. They watch more football, their club more than me. So that's the only difference.
And come on, you had a fantastic career in the Premier League and for Wales. And to give you credit, Robbie, we've had a bit of a joke. You're a fearless pundit. You always say what you believe, because what you say out there in the green room or when we're waiting to come into the studio is the same as what you say on air. And I think the big problem for me in punditry 20 years ago, it was cliche. People didn't want to be controversial, and you didn't get any real deep insights into the psychology or the technicalities of the game. So I think punditry's come on a lot. But let me just move over to Fred and cricket punditry, because sometimes Jeffrey Boycott can be savage.
Jeffrey, he is savage. He's made a name on being savage. He has. Unbelievable. I remember when I first started playing for England, he was on commentary. He wouldn't even call me by my name.
No.
He didn't rate me at all.
Really?
Yeah, here he is, that big lad from Lancashire. They picked him again. He's a big one, isn't he? Look at him. Hey. Oh, he's out again. Oh, he's gone. He's gone. Oh, rubbish. That's what he is. And then he wouldn't speak to me or anything. And then the bizarrest thing, when I first started seeing my wife, she had her own company. And she used to come to the cricket. One of the clients was one of the major sponsors, and she needed a Wi-Fi connection. And she used Jeffrey's office. So she used to sit next to Jeffrey, and then only on the strength of that, he'd start talking to me. Yeah. Even to the point, I saw him last year with the boys, introduced him. I said, "Yeah, boys, this is Jeffrey Boycott." And he goes, "Oh, hi, you lads." He says, "Your dad, I like your dad, but I love your mum. I love your mum."
So why did you never go down? Because why have you never gone down the... Because cricket is, you would say, analytical. You would say, when you play, I watch it. Listen, I watch a lot of cricket. And I think Atherton, who's saying England cricket captains.
They're good.
When I watch on TV and they do demonstrations, why have you never gone down that route? Because all-rounder, as you said, world-class. Yeah. Why have you never gone down that route?
A few reasons, really. When I finished at 31, I fell out with the game a little bit. I wanted to see what else was out there. I wanted to test myself. I thought at that point, one, I couldn't commit to commentary, and two, I saw it as a bit of an easy option. I wanted to try other things. Yeah. And now, I'm toying with tipping my toe into the water.
Tipping your toe?
Tipping my toe, just my toe.
Don't chop it out.
Yeah,
chop it off.
I'll never play for Brighton. But I'm toying with doing it because...
But where?
Well,
Test
I've
matches?
done a little bit in Australia on the Big Bash.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, the only reason I did it was to try and get on another show. So it was doing
And it worked.
Yeah, it did. It was doing a bit of goodwill for the network to then do a current affairs show, which I presented, which was fine. But I love cricket.
You presented a current affairs show on Australian television.
Yeah, nightly show. Yeah. I'm talking about Australia's fiscal deficit and all sorts. But it's fine. I don't bang on
You were
about
doing
it.
like the David Dimbleby question time equivalent.
Yeah, I wouldn't compare myself to David Dimbleby, but yeah, something like that. I was on a panel with 4 other people. 1 minute you're talking about what's wrong with Australia's budget, the next you're commenting on a dog on a skateboard. So it was a real mixed bag. But I didn't do it because I love cricket. I play it down and
You do love cricket, don't you?
and I really love it. But I love it on my terms. Yeah. I never wanted to give a paid opinion. I didn't want to turn up to a cricket match thinking, you know what, I really don't want to be here today, but I'm getting paid. I'm going to have to offer an opinion, which I'm not sure is quite right. And if not, I'll just make something up. Where now, I've started watching it a little bit. And some of my mates have gone into it, like Rob Key, one of my best friends.
Yeah,
And
he's good, him.
Oh, he's brilliant. And
Yeah.
Bumble's on there as well.
Superb.
And I'm watching them doing the 2020. I think, you know what, that'd be quite a nice day out for me.
Yeah.
I could go and play golf with Keezy during the day. I could have a laugh with them, watch some cricket at night. You know,
Yeah.
I might quite fancy that. But
I think that the punditry in cricket's really, really good, and it does sound as if they have a good time. Ed Smith, Athers, Blowers, I enjoy a lot.
it just
Bumble.
makes it up. Well, here we are, my dear old thing. There's never been a bus passing the ground. Oh, the number 8 is coming here from Master Vauxhall End, and there's a bird on the ground.
That's what he sounds like.
He just makes it up. He's one of the best men you'll ever meet, though. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe one of the things which I liked as well was when I was playing, a lot of the commentators just used to stick the knife in. They used to just have a go blatantly, a lot of them. And then you think, I don't want to be like that. One of the biggest compliments I've had as an ex-player is being invited back into the dressing room with my kids.
Yeah.
And if I was critical, then I wouldn't get that opportunity. So I think when you're a pundit, especially in cricket, I think it's getting better. I think people have got very, very, very short memories of what it was like.
Yeah.
You can sit.
So true.
You can sit and you can look at the ground and look at a game unfold with no emotional connection to it, no nerves, and it's easy. And I do it at home.
You just made a good point there because I remember the story about Robin van Persie with me in the
Oh, yeah.
So, criticising people, that was my job, to analyse the game, to say what I thought. And I remember I got on well with Robin van Persie. And then one day I said to Fred, I think I've upset him. I think I've upset him for something I've said. Do you remember? And
He's brilliant. I loved it because kids were at the same school,
Yeah.
so you pass him in the yard.
So there's Vincent. There was all the Man City, a lot of Man City players, Everton, United kids in the school our boys used to go to. So you imagine 3:25 or 3:30 when the school finished, you'd have all these footballers' wives in the school playground, and you think if you've been on Match of the Day at the time as it was, and you've had a go at somebody, you've got them walking to that playground.
Right.
What did you have a go at him for?
I mean, I can't remember what it was.
You was pathetic. You was absolutely pathetic. Because I'm in the school playground, and then you look around, and to be honest with you, there's all these footballers, and I'm not impressed by footballers. The day that Les Dennis brought his kid to our school, I was over the moon. That's Les Dennis! That's Les Dennis! I don't care about Wayne Rooney. That is Les Dennis. Family Fortunes, Russ Abbott, that's the lad. But anyway, Robbie's had a go at Van Persie. And then I'm in the playground, and usually Robbie's having a chat with everyone, he's getting involved. And he just sat on a bench in the corner on his own, like a naughty child, not trying to make any eye contact with anyone. So I went over and said, "What's up, Rob?" "Oh, I've upset him, Robbie Van Persie." It was
How did you know you'd upset? Did he say something?
Because then I was hiding. And
He was hiding.
I was hiding. I said, "Fred, I think it upset me."
Pretending to be on phone.
I said, "What do I do? Do I go? What do I do?" So anyway, I seen him, but I didn't go over to him. And then his wife got with my wife, and I said to my wife, "Ask Robin's wife." This is all wives.
You're getting flustered again, Rob.
Is he all right? Anyway, she told my wife that, I'd upset him. So I thought, what do I do here? So I sent him a DM on Twitter and said, I apologise if I've upset you, but, that's me. And, I don't think we spoke ever again. So you do upset people. Remember Scholesy? The good man, I was talking about Paul Scholes earlier, when we were on a show I had. It was Fletch and Sav on BT. And he was sitting there. And Scholesy, he's top draw, and I think, as I said before, he didn't speak much when he was a pundit, but now I'd rather listen to him for 2 minutes than somebody rambling on nonsense. Nonsense. So anyway, he didn't know the camera was on him, and Scorsy's got this habit of muttering stuff under his breath. And
I remember that.
Remember it? So I've asked him a question, and it was a bit of fun, and we were going to a break, and as the camera went onto him, he looked at me and muttered the words "knobhead." But Scorsy, I know Scorsy like I know Fred.
It's about time someone said
it. We play golf together, and if
has that opened the floodgates?
Somebody
now?
said it as well. Yeah, but it was under his breath. But what they done was, people said Paul Scholes just called Savage a knobhead live on TV, and then he hates him. He's this, he's that, but. We get on so well. We grew up together. So this is where people can make a massive mountain out of a molehill to say, because we get on really well. Then I've got to defend myself. No, I've been Scorsy. We grew up together. That's 92. We play golf together. You just let it. But you've got to start convincing people you get on. So there has been some very, very funny bits. But do you know what? Punditry, I believe you do it because you love it, and I'm so fortunate.
But the one thing with punditry, I will say, I don't know if it's about football, but cricket, the younger people coming through now are so well researched.
Yeah.
It's not like it used to be. Yeah. And some of the older ones are getting shown up a little bit because they're going in there. Like Nasser is saying, I never got on with Nasser, really, as a player, as a captain, but you can't fault him as a pundit. Yeah. I don't agree with a lot of the things he says, and I never will. However, you hear the stories. He goes into Sky, he researches everything. He's in there all the time. Yeah. Rob Key, who has just started now, what he's done is, he's now, I think he's got a contract with Sky, he's working for him, but he did all the bad games. He was doing all through the night. He was giving himself an opportunity. And that's what a lot of people don't realise. You must have gone to some shocking and sat in some shocking
I remember
places.
one of my first gigs was 5 Live Sports Extra, Coventry City away. It was in the Johnston Paints Trophy, and I'd done about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of those, and then actually got a chance on 5 Live. Yep. So I wasn't doing that because
you did an apprenticeship, and actually that's a good way to finish this. Is on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is terrible and 1 is really, really good. How bad is Thierry Henry?
Oh!
Wow, so go on, just a quick.
Andy looks like he dips into Garth Crooks' wardrobe every now and then.
I've got to say, I think Thierry Henry is one of the most brilliant, beautiful, elegant footballers. I thought he would translate magnificently into punditry. I think he is woeful as a pundit.
So as a journalist, when you watch pundits, because you've had our side. What do you think makes a good pundit?
Insight, honesty, candour. People who say it as it is. Also, people who can take you into the dressing room, not literally, but can give you a sense of the dynamic behind the scenes. Because we don't see, as fans, what happens in the dressing room. We don't see what happens on the training pitch. We don't know what happens when you travel from one match to the other. Those kinds of insights, of the kind that you guys give on this podcast and you do in your broadcast, I think that's really, really important. Because we can all see the match. It's nice to have it deconstructed to an extent.
The biggest thing...
But I think that is what really...
I don't really understand football all that well, and if I do watch it, I can see what's going on in the game, but I want someone to tell me something that I don't know.
Yeah. Do you know the difficult thing is when you do a TV commentary is when the commentator says ball on the right hand side, crossed into the box, near post header, it just goes past the post. What you've then got to do as a summariser is try and say why it happened, and what you don't do is repeat what he said. Oh yeah, it was a great ball from the right hand side. You've got to try and tell it why that happened. Was the fullback out of position? It's quite a difficult skill because people aren't watching it. You just said that. Yeah. So it is hard, but as I say, the key for me is research, fun, and one last quick one. You said the word, you said insightful, candour, and another word.
Yeah, honesty.
Honesty. But you know when people are that honest and they just keep dropping massive, what's the word I'm looking for? Just statements.
Yeah.
And they keep dropping statements without backing up. Oh, sometimes that gets boring, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And they've got to start, in the end, back it up, haven't they?
Yeah. And the other thing I think is great, and I think Freddie would do this brilliantly, is what Bumble does. He gives you insights, but also humour.
Yeah, that's the best.
Levity.
But the thing about Bumble, though, if you listen to what Bumble says, he's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's not just the fun.
Yeah.
You listen to what he's telling you. Is brilliant. See through that. But there's one person who delivers truth, insight, like no other. And we spoke about him already. I'm going to go back to Michael Owen. I really like Michael Owen. And this here, there's no greater truth bomb in football than this. A Michael Owen quote. Whichever team scores more goals usually wins. And on that bombshell, Matthew,
But I've got to stick up for Michael. I think he's good. I think he offers insight. He's been there. He's done
that's
it.
insightful, that.
I think Michael gets wrongly criticised. I think Michael is a fantastic pundit.
I think he's good. I really like him.
You're listening to a BBC 5 Live podcast.
Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy.
If you like this, you might also like this.
606, the UK's biggest football debate.
You can use all the excuses imaginable. These guys get paid a lot of money.
To find out more about our range of podcasts, click, tap or swipe bbc.co.uk/5live.
Next topic, terrorism. And this, of course, in the light of the attack with roadside bombs on the bus of the Dortmund football team on the way to their quarter-final match-up against Monaco in the Champions League. But it isn't just about that particular incident. We've seen it in cricket. We've seen it at the Olympic Games. Guys, have you got any personal experience of terrorism? What can sport do to mitigate what could be a real threat to its future integrity? Freddie?
Well, you look at cricket and you look at some of the places around the world in which you play. And terrorism for a lot of these places, I don't know if it's become part of daily life, but it's not uncommon. You know, you look at the places you tour, you look at Sri Lanka. I remember being on an A-team tour there a long time ago, and it was just after the Hilton Hotel had been bombed by the Tamils. Mm-hmm. And then there's all this thing saying about, should we go? We ended up going. If there's any problems in the country, we'll get you straight out of there. And we went there, and this was a real eye-opener for me, and also probably helped me with some of the stuff which happened after in my career, where the ECB and the coaches said, we'll just get you out. We're not going to get it to a situation where you've got to choose. Your safety is paramount. Yeah. But then we had a team meeting and walked in, and all our passports were on the table. And Graham Gooch and Mike Gatton were saying, well, if you want to go, lads, get your passport and go, or stay. And I was thinking, well, that's not quite what I signed up to. When people talk about terrorism or something happens, everyone says we need to get on with our daily life. We shouldn't give in to it. We should just carry on as normal. That's easier said than done, especially when you're away from home.
And when you could be the target.
Well, that's the thing. We've had it a few times. You know, when we was in India, was it 2008, I think it was, when they had the Mumbai attacks. Mm-hmm. We was out there touring. And we'd been in Mumbai, we'd been in that hotel for probably 2 weeks or so. And you get an emotional attachment to a place or people. And I used to sit in a Japanese restaurant more or less every lunchtime in this hotel. It was a beautiful restaurant. And I got to know all the staff, and I'd sit around, I'd eat with them, I'd have a cup of tea with them and talk. And then after the attack started, we found out that the attack started in that Japanese restaurant. And,
wow.
And we got shipped out to a place called Bhubaneswar, to be hidden for a while. And then we went to Abu Dhabi, and we had these team meetings where we was talking about, should we go back to India? Shouldn't we go back to India? And I'll be honest with you, I was for not going back, because I've got a young family. Yeah. It's only a game of cricket. And we had these meetings, and the security staff came in and they were talking about how they're going to make it safe. We're going to have airport detectors on the hotels. You're going to have our guards outside your rooms. You're going to get a presidential escort, which meant you had the team bus, you had a spur team bus, you had an ambulance on the back. The streets were closed down with armed guards every 100 metres. And you think, I just want to play cricket. I just want to hit a ball. I'm not really signed up for this. And then they said, we're going to Mohali, which is actually on the Pakistan border, which nobody failed to realise. And I was always sceptical. It was something which, I'd love to be braver and say, we don't give in. But, I'm going to play cricket.
Yeah. And you think that Hales and Morgan, I think quite understandably, withdrew from a tour to Bangladesh because of the security risk. And they were criticised so they were vilified in some quarters.
But the worst thing about that is that the fact that they made a decision, a brave decision in a lot of ways. Owen Morgan was captain. I think he's had some experience in the past of being aware or some type of terrorism on a tour he's been on. Alex Hales decided he didn't want to go. And the worst thing about that was everyone's saying it's the wrong decision, but it's not, because it's the decision he made. And also, the only way that decision for them to be right would be something horrific's going to happen to the rest of the team. And it was just an awful situation. Everyone comes out the woodwork and everyone starts piling it on it. We've seen what can happen with this Borussia Dortmund bus. You know, you got the players on there. Happened to Sri Lanka in Pakistan. They were leaving the ground. They got fired upon. Three players were shot. I remember I got to the gym actually, where I was training in Lancashire, and Murray was on that bus, Matai Muralithian, one of my best mates. And I phoned him up to say, Murray, you all right? And at the time, he was in an aircraft hangar being waiting to flown out with the rest of the team, and he was describing what had happened. They opened fire, the players all hit the deck, and then one by one you could hear these bullets coming through the bus. And you could hear it, and then someone had screamed that they'd been hit. And then another bullet would come through, and they're like, everybody all right, everybody all right. And it just sounded unbelievably horrific. The bus driver was killed. It's like, and when you grow up as a kid, you don't think you're going to be in these situations. It's
on the Dortmund attack. I mean, there was, I think, 2 injuries, weren't there? One to a player.
He broke his arm, didn't he?
Yeah, and one to a police officer. But there would have been further casualties had the bus not been strengthened with bulletproof windows. So this is a kind of lifestyle.
Was there nails found in the headrest as well?
I mean, how would you have reacted? And what's your take on how this is beginning to affect the way that sport takes place?
Well, are you safe? Because it looked like, by all accounts, it was a planned attack. The bombs were in bushes set off by mobile phones. How can you protect these people? It's unbelievable. But to make them play the game 24 hours later is incredible. Is just unbelievable. Why? And I think what happened then, it showed, we've criticised football fans in the past, but then when the Dortmund fans on social media were saying an away bed, for them, that shows how football comes together in shocking circumstances. But as a player, I wouldn't have played that game, and the result was they lost 3-2. They could have easily postponed it and played a couple of weeks later. So, but on the terror, I've never really been involved in anything like that as a footballer. But
have you had like threats or death threats?
Oh, death threats, yeah. I've had I've had, going back to the age of 19 when I played for Crewe, Wrexham.
How many have you had today?
not one today. To be fair, I've not been in the post box yet. I haven't done my morning.
I just want to check I've got the correct address.
I haven't done my 2 mile run. But going back to when I played for Crewe, Wrexham, it was the olden days when you had the phone book. You used to have the yellow page of the phone book delivered to your house, my mum and dad's house, and our number was in the phone book. There was only a few savages that lived in Wrexham area, and it was the night before we played Wrexham. It was one of my first games for Crewe, and my mum picked up the phone and they said, if Robbie plays tomorrow, he won't get home after the game. If we know which bus you get to my mum to town. If he plays well, you won't get on. Yeah, honestly, incredible.
Wrexham v Crewe, you got death threats.
Yeah, and my family, my mum. Yeah, to the house.
How did you respond to that?
Well, we phoned the police, but it was a withheld number. Incredible. Then we'd have the heavy breathing down the phone, people putting the phone down. Honestly, true story. And that then I left, went to Leicester after the cup final. After the cup final, Leicester Spurs training ground. You have fan mail. Used to get quite a bit, believe it or not. Yeah. Open an envelope, Robbie Savage, piece of paper, white paper like that, with letters cut out of the newspaper. I
gotta admit, so someone, because I've seen this like on programmes and detective things, but you got one of them where cut the letters out. Yeah,
cut the letters out. Something like, I can't remember the exact words, but I'm not lying, it's God's honest truth. It was a death threat in cut out newspaper writing.
Unbelievable.
What did it say?
I can't remember the exact words, Fred, but something like, we're going to kill you, there's a bullet in with your name on it. Honestly, that was after the cup final. True story. I've had...
Have you had people come to your house?
Yeah, I had 4 guys in Balaclava turn at my house at Birmingham, middle of the night, We lived on a lane, me and my wife, and that's one of the reasons why. Also, I wanted to leave Birmingham, or that house in particular. We lived on a country lane, and one night, remember the old windows? It was a Georgian farmhouse.
Yeah.
And the windows you used to push up. What windows are those called?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The big windows.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So we were in the bedroom in the front, in the front of the house, and I heard a car about 3 a.m. So I've gone up to the window, and it was a red car. Four men got out in balaclavas. So I've screamed at the window, and they've got in the car and drove off, took the number plate, phoned the police straight away, went and arrested them. I don't know what they were going to do. So when you talk about sportsmen, so I've had death threats, I've had the newspaper cutouts, I've had people falling in the house. So I've had it all, yeah. But it is, let me tell you, it is scary. But people say, even had it at the gym on social media. Somebody put on social media, myself and Fred go to the gym every day, but it was before we started training together. A guy on social media threatened me. So, tongue in cheek, I said, you know where I train? So he said, right, I'll be there in the morning. I'll be there in the morning. He didn't have his profile picture. I think his profile picture was an egg, so you don't know who it is.
Sounds like a bit of an egg.
Yeah, and he said, I'll be there in the morning. So anyway, I used to train with a big guy called Steve. Steve, who's a great fella, but rock hard. So I phoned him and said, listen, I'm worried. Some guy's going to come to the gym and smash me head in. And he went, why? So I showed him the tweets. And he was going to trip in the car park. And I didn't know what was going to happen. And I was panicking. So I turned up. Big Steve was there. We planned it. So Big Steve was there waiting. So he said, just come park next to me. And nobody turned up. So the thing I feel that people say, and I think Fred alluded to earlier, if they're going to do something, they're going to do it, aren't they? But I've had the death threats, I've had it all, and let me tell you that it is scary. It is very, very scary.
I mean, that is genuinely extraordinary.
100% true.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Just thinking as a fan of sport, you go. It's supposed to be escapism. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be entertainment. And then you get to an Olympic Games, for example, and the infrastructure of security, it's miles more intrusive than going into an aeroplane. You have to put your stuff through the scanner. You have to walk through a scanner yourself. You have to take your watch off, your shoes off. You have to have the accreditation. Sport is still beautiful. It's still something all of us, I think, genuinely love. But that is taking a fraction off it, isn't it? This threat of terrorism, the fact that top players who are just doing their job to the best of their ability are targeted with death threats by ultras. There's something wrong there.
But we toured Pakistan, and we turned up, and this was the most intense security on a cricket game I've ever seen. We got off the plane, and then the steps down the runway are lined with armed guards. You walk through a corridor of armed guards. And I'll be honest with you, I really don't like guns. I don't like them at all. I don't like firing them. I don't like looking at them. I don't even like the thought of them. And these guys are stood there, which I imagine they'd be AKs or something like that, automatic machine guns, and they're stood. And initially you look at it and you think, look at that, you're frightened. You don't know who the fella is holding it. Who's this fella holding a gun?
Yeah.
And then it becomes normal. You walk through the airport, you get on the bus. I mentioned before, you've got the 2 buses, you've got the ambulance at the front, you've got guards on the top of the bus, armed guards. All the streets are closed down. You get to the hotel, you go through the detectors, you get to your room. I must admit, I didn't know if the armed guard was to keep me in or keep people out. I'm not sure. But I've got an armed guard outside my room 24 hours a day. He stood there with his gun.
Wow.
And you think, hang on a minute, what's this about?
Yeah.
I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
And then the death threats in the World Cup in South Africa, I don't even know when it was, 2002, 2003 possibly. We got there, we was in Zimbabwe and South Africa. There's a lot going on in Zimbabwe at the time. Mugabe was claiming back land and it was all kicking off. Yeah. Heath Street, one of the Zimbabwe ex-players, his parents had been locked up. They'd taken half the farm off him. And it was all going off. So we had these meetings. We had 3 days in South Africa, sat in a room. We didn't practice, we didn't train, talking about should we go to Zimbabwe or not. We got ECB representatives coming in saying we should go. We got Andy Flower, who's playing for Zimbabwe at the time, saying, will you come to try and stand up to the regime? I'm thinking, well, probably not, no. And then it all changed. They were telling us that if we go to Zimbabwe, they will close Harare down, which is the city that the ground's in. A 10-mile outside the ground perimeter will be closed down. There'd be tanks, there'd be helicopters. There'd be all this going on just so we could play a World Cup game. The problem was Robert Mugabe lives next door. So Robert Mugabe lives next door. They couldn't guarantee that Robert Mugabe is not going to turn up to the game and want to meet the players in a lineup.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, well, if that happens, this fella he's having a bit of a shock at the minute. He's awful. He's a tyrant.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shake his hand. If he comes to meet me, I'm not shaking his hand. I'm going to stood there.
you.
I'm not meeting him, which then means I'll probably get killed. So I'm saying, well, I'm not going. So Army, he don't want to go. He's not going. Matthew Ogard don't want to go. And then the mood of it, everything changed. I'm sat there. Nasser, to be fair to him, in these meetings, spoke so well and passionately, and he got a bit upset at times. And then the police came in. They addressed us. And I don't know, in hindsight, if this was, they got a gist of, we're not going to go, we'll just put it to bed now. We got a letter from this organisation called the Sons and Daughters of Zimbabwe. We all got one. And the gist of it is, I think Matthew Hogarth put it in his book, it said, if you come to Zimbabwe, you will leave in wooden boxes. If we don't kill you, then we know where you live, we know where your families live, we're going to kill your families. So then you're sat there, and then the police have said, we've done some investigating into this, and this is a serious threat. This is not someone sat at home sending emails and trying to cause a stir. This is a proper threat. We're advising that you do not go. I said, fine, I'm out. We're not going. But then, when it comes back to sport, the only reason I'm under the impression that in World Cup rules in cricket, that you can pull out of a match and still keep your points and not get penalised, was, I think, an act of terrorism, which there hadn't actually been one, and if the government pull you out. So I'm thinking, well, surely the government are going to pull us out of this. Surely we're going to get 3 points. And we got knocked out of the World Cup because of we didn't tour Zimbabwe. One, we got death threats. 2, they were going to close it all down.
Crazy.
And we still didn't get the points. And I know it's a bigger thing than the points, but I was bemused. And you know, we went to 10 Downing Street after the Ashes. I got it in my head right, because Tony Blair was Prime Minister, and that's the reason I didn't meet him. You know, when you're drunk and you get a bit stubborn. It's like, I'm not meeting him. I'm not meeting him. He didn't help me with Zimbabwe. And then after that, there was another tour to Zimbabwe, which it was still going off, and Steve Armstrong pulled out. Steve Armstrong said, I'm not going. And there was a big piece in the News of the World saying why he didn't go. And I said, well, I mean, I can't expect you to do that. I'm not going to go. So I got a call from the chief exec of the ECB at the time, John Carr. He said, about Zimbabwe. I said, well, you know I'm not going. He says, why? I said, well, I told you I'm not going. With all what's going on over there, I'm not going. Steve's not going. I'm not going. He said, oh, what, you using your exercise to rest? I said, no, I'm not tired. I'm not tired. I'm not going because of what's going on over there. So he said, so you won't have a rest? I said, no, I don't want to have a rest. So he tried to cover it up to stop creating a bit of a stink, which to me suggests we shouldn't have been going in the first place. But when you're playing cricket, it's like,
wow, yeah.
Was it 7-7?
Yeah.
Or was it? When was it? It was 2005 when the London bombings. Mm-hmm. We played at Lord's the next day. They had the London bombings. There was that whole thing of should we go to London? Should we play? And I was always on the side of caution. I'm glad we played that one in the end. And then the bigger one was when we went back to India to play the series having come home. I'll never forget, we played the test match in Chennai. And the security was tight. There was bomb disposal people walking around the ground all the time you're playing. There's armed guards everywhere. And we got beat, actually. It's one of the few times where I didn't mind getting beat because we should have won. But then Sachin Tendulkar in the second innings, they knocked off about 380 in Chennai, which is unheard of. Sachin Tendulkar, the Mumbai boy, the king of India, Mumbai, the attacks from Mumbai, scored 100 and hit the winning runs. The crowd were going up. And as we're walking off, I thought, you know what? I'm so pleased I came back here because I'm looking around the ground and I'm seeing what it's done to these people. It's lifting them. I can imagine what it's doing. All these Indian people watching it on TV. They've been through so much over the past few weeks. Finally, through Sachin, they've got something. Yeah. They've got a glimmer of something really nice. And Sachin Tendulkar, one of the reasons I love him even more was, as we walked off, he stopped and he thanked every one of our players for coming back. He was saying, thank you so much for coming back. It was like, it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. That's how he speaks. And I'll be honest with you, when he did that, he was my hero, and I welled up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, I've
amazing.
probably done quite a good thing here. I'd like to have won that, but
Wow, fascinating stuff. Going back, so obviously I just spoke earlier about the death threats, to my mum, me, without also, being hit in public when I'm a little boy. I've talked about in previous podcasts, when a fan punched me in the back of the head, when I had Charlie, being spat at when I'm a boy. I forgot to say about the time when I played for Blackburn. I got home, we'd been to it was a Sunday, been home to see my parents, drove into our little estate where we lived, and there was a police car at the end of the road. So I thought, that's a bit strange. And anyway, we pull into the house, we had a dog, we had the baby. Go in the house, make a cup of tea, and knock at the door. So, true story once again, it was two unclothed.
unclothed.
They
were naked. They were naked on your front step.
Plain clothes.
Plain clothes.
Unclothed. That's right, man.
Naked.
Two naked policemen.
I'd have won the police if two naked policemen turned up at my house. Are you sure they weren't strippers? Was it your birthday?
I'm trying to see this.
Happy birthday, Robbie.
Two plain clothes policemen turned up at the door. They said, "Can we come in, Mr. Savage?" I went, "Yeah." They said, "Right, just to let you know, we've had an informer. Is that what they call it? An informant walk into the police station, the police station, and you are under serious threat tonight."
No way.
Yeah, honestly, you're under serious. We suggest that you get all your stuff and move out for tonight. Go back home to stay with your parents. So I'm looking at my wife, and she's like, saying, "What's going on here?" And I had to sit down. I said, "Pardon?" So seriously, an informant's walked into the police station. I was playing for Blackburn, and we're led to believe you and your family are under threat tonight. Wow. So we got our stuff and packed the car back and went to our parents.
Under threat for...
No idea. Well, I've no idea, Fred, but what I would think is, we hear about, a few of my mates have been burgled at home, been tied up, and it's incredible. So my first thought was, wow, was that going to be the case? I had a couple of nice cars on the drive, but they weren't in the cars. And true story. So I've talked about all the stuff, and Fred's talked about it, that as life as a sportsman, you imagine that. You've got a young baby, your wife, and two policemen knock on the door and say, "You've got to move out tonight. They sat in the house all night. And luckily... nothing happened.
But that's one of the things. If I'm aware, I'll never put that I'm aware.
Yeah.
And we've spent so much money on the security of our house.
Yeah.
Every inch of it's cameraed.
It's frightening, Matthew. Honestly, it's frightening.
Do you keep your anti-aging cream in the safe now?
Have you seen his Barnet?
What do you use, by the way?
Look how high his Barnet's gone. Look at it. Look at it. He's gone.
It's about half as high. He's following you.
Yeah.
What do you use? Oil of Ulay or?
No, Elizabeth Arden, number 8 cream.
Don't start him off on this.
I use Nivea daily lotion.
But why? But look here, why do you use it?
For his head.
Yeah, exactly. Get dry on top.
It's either that or a bit of pledge.
Just wrapping this up. It's been a really interesting insight into some of the difficulties that sports people face. But I'm doing a documentary for Radio 4 at the moment, and one of the strands is Islamic terrorism, and they're sophisticated. They're very persistent, and they basically want to dominate the world with their own ideology. But my sense is that they can't win because our love of life is much greater than their love of death. And even though the difficulties that sport is facing at the moment, I cannot see a situation in our world where sport will cease to exist because of these fanatics. It's always going to survive. Final topic.
And you plugged your new show. Well done, Matthew.
Did you see what I did there?
I did see what you did.
Seamless.
I can't believe you had the audacity to say strand with your hair with the Barnet like that.
Okay, we're now moving on to topic 3. This, I think, is Freddie's topic.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Dressing room pranks.
Well, it is. I think to finish off that, obviously, that was a pretty heavy subject and a lot going on, but I thought something a bit lighter to finish the show with this week.
It's a podcast, isn't it? Light and shade.
Yeah, light and shade, but dressing room pranks. Rob, you was involved in class of 92. You've played with some characters and obviously one yourself, but what's the best prank you've played on someone or have played on you?
So there's been lots where when I went to Brighton, you
chop your legs off.
I was there. Somebody hid my car. I had a Lamborghini. I don't want to mention it. I love my cars. I had a white Lamborghini. Left training. My car wasn't there. One of the younger lads I think it was it Glenn Murray or was it Foster? Well, one of them moved my car. Went to get my car, wasn't there.
How did they get hold of the key?
Well, they went in my bag. I've had all my clothes cut up. My wife bought birthday. Went to train in my new clothes.
Was that not like a mercy kill?
Yeah.
Was that?
They're doing you a favour. I think there's a picture on the website. Went to train in my wife's new clothes. My wife's new clothes.
You went to training in your wife's new clothes.
No,
the wife's new clothes. But having said that, he does shares trainers with the wife.
Yeah,
he comes in the gym in his wife's trainers and leggings.
No, I've seen those.
So, is he ready? Is it out in here?
So I had she bought me some nice clothes. Left training. They were cut to the knees and the arms were cut off. So
did you find out who did it?
No, you never know. I've heard of stories where people go poo in people's wash bags.
No,
disgusting.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Disgusting. Better not tell my story.
There's stuff like when people are sitting in the toilet in the morning. You'll go and get a bucket of ice water, throw it over the top of the toilet, soak up.
Classic.
Nobody knows who it is. There's been loads and loads, but the worst one, which was played on me, or I've said it in my book that.
Someone hid your hair gel.
It was called.
Oh no, Muzzy, is it?
It was called. It was a four. It was a four. There's no swear in this podcast, but it was called the 4-letter word, the bed. So basically, as a youngster at Manchester United, you had all the initiation ceremonies, fun and games at lunchtime, and people used to hide because you were that nervous about going down. It would make or break you. It would make or break you. People used to. Have lunch for an hour and a half and then just go downstairs when you'd be ready to go out for your second session in the afternoon. But I was one of them who thought, do you know what? It'll make or break me. I'm going to get involved. So there was a thing called 4-letter word, the bed.
Humping the bed or something?
No. Yeah,
that sort of thing, yeah.
So basically, all the first team would be around. You think I'm 15. I was, I didn't know the world. I was a virgin. At 50, I was a late developer. I don't mind saying this.
It looks like you are getting a bit defensive.
No.
Usually when someone says, I don't mind saying this, usually means it's bothering them a little bit.
But you imagine, picture this.
We know you lost your virginity in your late 20s.
A young lad from Wrexham, going to the biggest football club in the world, and then you've got one of your initiation ceremonies in front of England legends, footballing legends, they're heroes. The second year YTS and the first year pros were the ringleaders. Get you in, picture a dressing room. You've got 30 people sitting around the outside. You walk in. The treatment table's in the middle of the dressing room with a hole cut out to where you don't put your head.
Did you get the right end? You said you'd never done it. Did you get the right end?
So I'm there. So I've walked in. Anyway, there was a mop and a bucket. So basically, to cut a long story short, as a 15, 16-year-old, I had to walk into this dressing room. The lights would be flickering. So somebody would be on the lights, flickering as a nightclub. So the lights would be on and off. There'd be a bit of music.
What? One of the senior players would be flicking the lights?
On and off. So it's like a bit of a nightclub. You'd walk in, then you had to chat the mop up.
Yeah.
So you'd say to the mop, "Hi, I'm Robbie." I've never chatted a girl in my life. I was scared to death. Never had any sexual encounters with anybody. They didn't know what it was. Mm-hmm. Chat this mop up. So I chat it up. You've got one of the first team players.
What did you say? Come on,
I can't remember. Robbie was Mason.
Pretend now, right? Do us a favour. Pretend now you're back in that dressing room and you've got a mop. You're faced with this mop.
Yeah, but I couldn't.
And you've got to chat a mop up. You've got to tuck the mop into bed.
I'm allowed to say hi, I'm Robbie. I couldn't do it. I still can't
do it to the microphone. Do it to the microphone.
It.
That's your mop.
So something like, "Hi, I'm Robbie," and then
good
the voice.
Good start.
Carry on. A voice in the background would say, "Hi, I'm Joe. What do you do?"
Joe?
Or Joanna.
Oh, Joanne, thank you.
I don't know, or Sarah. I can't say Sarah, my wife. So you'd be then try and say, like a dance, blah, blah. Then you'd have to get the mop out of the bucket and dance with the mop. like there'd be music, and like
Does a bucket not like dancing?
Well, the mop had to stand up in the bucket, so you'd be dancing with the mop, and then the conversation would be, then, would you like to come back to my place or whatever?
Apparently your Strictly partner said it was like dancing with a mop. What's it called? Hula?
That's a fair point. Holla. So you then have to get this mop back to your place, and then you'd have the first teamer talking as the mop. You'd have all the first team around, then you'd have to then get the mop into bed, which then would become the treatment table.
Just so, Rob, I feel bad cutting in here, but just so I can get this right in my head, when you're talking about first team players, who are we talking about? I've got Steve Bruce in my head here. It
was class of 92, so class. I don't know exactly who was in there, but there was first team players in class of 92. I'm not going to say he was definitely in there when I
just want to know who's a mop watcher.
There was lots in there. So you get the mop, then you get it into bed, and the treatment table then become the mop. But you don't have your clothes on, but you have to make the noises.
Do you know? Okay,
it's weird.
It's weird. Interesting. It's bringing back.
But you might imagine that, Matthew. As
funnily enough,
it's awful.
I want to just say that Beckham, Scholes, Butt, Neville, Chris Casper. I got to know them really, really well about 4 or 5 years ago. Beckham in particular said, and I know this is a light topic, that he found the initiation ceremony so humiliating.
Terrible.
Often so painful.
Painful.
He questioned his commitment to the club. He said his one desire is that players today, young players, don't have to go through what he had to go through, because it was horrible.
It was. Do you imagine that? So a virgin, never had a sexual encounter before, but that is a virgin. But you imagine that, the humiliation, and it was one of the most worst but best experiences I've ever had, because then what happened was...
What was it, a fit mop? What do you mean it was the best experience?
Because
Are you sure you're still doing it right?
Then there was stuff like funny movements. They'd put a song on you to dance funny for a minute. But when you'd done it, they'd leave you alone. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is, because I'd done it and was one of those who'd do it, that's it. Oh, he'll do it. No point asking. They would then go for the weak ones.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And as I got through...
What did Eric Harrison say about this, the youth team coach?
Well, I don't know. Obviously, we knew... Listen, what a guy he was. What a fantastic man he is, Eric Harrison. You know, it was all part and part, sink or swim, part and parcel of it. And it was, if stuff went on like that today...
you couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. You can't do it.
That's a good thing, though, isn't it?
It's a very good thing. Very good thing, Fred. People would put in the tumble dryer turned on. You would have... the Man United kit, paint, wire brushed, you polish your boots with. The kit would be put on you. You'd be naked in boot polish.
Yeah.
So you'd be drawn with a wire brush.
Yeah.
It was honestly some of the stuff.
This is all at the Cliff training ground, famous Cliff.
All at the Cliff. But at the time, it was all fun and games, all part and parcel, and it made me to what I was in future dressing rooms, because I would be the instigator, I would be the ringleader, but I wouldn't take it over the line. I thought at times, as a youngster, it was a bridge too far.
What was it like in the England cricket dressing room?
Do you know what? When I went into the England dressing room for the first time, it was awful. Awful. I walked in at Trent Bridge, I was 20, I'm all excited. I'm thinking, here we go, I'm going to get in this dressing room, I'm going to put my bag down, who am I going to be changing next to? There's all these lads. And then, apart from Goffey and a couple of others... Nobody moved the bagger out. I got changed in back room with washing machines.
No.
I didn't even get changed in the dressing room. Yeah, that's how it was. But when I was younger at Lancashire, there is that prank-taking, Mickey-taking culture. And when I was 15, 16, I was like Robbie. I was a late developer in a lot of ways. And when I got to 17, 18, I was getting they're having me a little bit. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to have to just set my standard here. I'm not having this any longer. And I was in the shower with the second team. The second team wasn't a nice place to be. It was full of lads in their early 20s, mid-20s, thought they were far much better than what they were. They just wanted to have a go at people younger than them to make themselves feel better. And there was one lad, right, called Darren Chadford. I'm in the shower, we're in the showers, I'm washing my hair, and I can feel like a trickle down my leg. Right? And I looked at him, and he's weeing on me. He's weeing on my leg. I think, you know what, that's fine, Darren. I said, Darren, that's fine. Very funny, but you do know I am going to get you back. And I thought about this. I deliberated over it. I said, this has got to be good. Whatever I do, this is setting the standard now for the rest
So
of the
he
career.
weed on you, and it was as a prank.
As a prank. So I thought I'm going to set my standard. Now, I'm not proud of this, what I'm about to tell you. But it worked. It worked. So, roll on probably 3 months.
Oh, no.
Middle of the summer, Old Trafford. We're playing a second team game. It's baking hot. Darren Shadford is out batting in the middle. He's having a good day. I go into his locker. I get his car keys. I needed the toilet. All right? He's peed on me. I needed a number 2, right?
No, you didn't.
no.
Right. So what I did was, I did it in a carrier bag. I then took the carrier bag outside into the car park. I opened his car and then tipped the contents of the carrier bag into the passenger door pocket.
Oh, no.
Freddie.
Right? So I've tipped it in,
Freddie.
shut the door. I have told no one. I put his keys back very calmly in the thing. He bats all day. End of play, 7 o'clock. It's been baking hot. It's so hot. He goes to his car. I can see, like, oh, it stinks in here. It stinks in here. It stinks. And he's driving out the ground with his windows down. He said, oh, I don't know what, your car stinks, right? But it gets worse, right? He then drives to Manchester to pick his girlfriend up from work.
Oh, no.
She gets in the car. It stinks. She puts her hand in the passenger door pocket, pulls out what looks like a cigar, but this is not a cigar. It says, what's this, Darren? He came in the next day. He was absolutely furious. He was saying, who was it? I said, Darren, I just want to say one thing. Never pee on me on the shower again, otherwise I'm going worse next time. After that, nothing.
There was no comeback from it.
No comeback.
Do you
Wow.
think that this...
Is that not too far?
Yeah.
What? It works. The other thing I did as well was, this is a bit lighter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can't wait for this one.
Glenn Chappell, he's now coach of Lancashire. He was captain of Lancashire, one of my best friends, brilliant lad, played a lot with him. And his nickname for some reason became the Ginger Pig for a while. So he didn't like it. So what we did was, I was at Birkdale and I'd gone to this barbecue before the open. It sounds like what grander than it was. It was Ernie Elsie's house he's rented. We had the same agent, so we've gone. And there's a hog roast. There's a hog roast. So we've had the hog roast. And I said to the chef, mate, do me a favour. Can I have the head? Can I have the head of the pig, please? So he says, I said, mate, please just put it in a bag and leave it. So we finished the barbecue. It's about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting a taxi back to Altrincham, where I'm living. But I've got the pig in a carrier bag. So I've got the pig's head. I got in a cab. I said to the cabbie on the way home, I says, look, mate, do us a favour. Just swing by Old Trafford Cricket Ground. I just want to nip into the ground. So we've gone. We've stopped. They've got in. Gate man's let me in. Gone up to the dressing room. I said, I forgot something in the dressing room. I've gone into Chappie's locker and I put the pig's head in his locker shelf and then put his Lancashire cap on top. Right? And then shut the locker and forgot about it. But the worst thing was, the lads had 4 days off, right? I'd gone off to England, I'd forgot all about it. They've come in, and then this thing has just rotted in his locker. They've opened the door, there's maggots, there's all sorts. It's just stunk the place out. And Chappie wasn't that impressed. It backfired.
Do you think that playing pranks in a dressing room is symptomatic of a team that have real good spirit with each other?
Depends. Like them experience Robbie said.
Yeah, too
them
far.
initiations, I'm not having that.
Yeah.
Pranks. I can't speak for football, but cricket, you're bored a lot of the time. Yeah. You got to kill some time. I remember when it rained, we used to like get bottles of Tabasco out and do shots of Tabasco, and we just kill it. I once had 10 cans of Red Bull just to see how many I could drink, and then I was wired all day.
Yeah, but just to finish this off, parents will be listening to this podcast with children who are into sport and might be going into professional sport. The initiations that you went through in the class of 92 and that you went through in cricket, they don't exist anymore in the professional game, do they?
I think the world's changed a little bit. And
Right.
I noticed this with England when I went into the dressing room in Australia, where the dressing room it could be quite a harsh place at times. When you talk about initiations and you talk about the humour, and people just used to jump on any sign of weakness. They'd jump all over it. And a lot of it wasn't funny. It was almost to make the person doing it feel better. And at Lancashire second team, it was awful. And then I went in the England dressing room, and I think people's attitudes towards each other and the way in which people talk to each other is completely different. I see it with my children now, and it is for the better.
Yeah, I think as well what you see now, Matthew, is it has changed, and what happened back in our day wouldn't happen now. What you'll see on social media is new players at new clubs singing, standing on a chair and singing, and that's as much far as it goes now, I think. So, our day, I don't think what happened won't happen again because it can't.
What about table tennis, Matthew? Did you ever do anything to Des Douglas's balls?
Let me tell you, table tennis, there are no pranks at all. None that I can remember.
Table tennis is just one big joke, isn't it?
It just goes to show that the subcultures of different sports, I think, are completely unique.
Is that
we didn't have any of that in table tennis. We didn't have any initiations.
Is that because it's individual?
No, because we played as individuals in the England team. So we did have a dressing room. We did have the kind of dynamic that you're talking about, but it never got to that place. I don't think it was part of the historical tradition in table tennis. So listening to what you were saying reminded me of the class of 92. To me, that I'd have been traumatised by that. The mop story is funny.
But you know what I mean?
But I'm thinking, if I'd been an adolescent at the age, was I a virgin at the time? I was a virgin at the time, at 15. If I'd have had to have done that, I wouldn't have wanted to have been there.
It was very hard. No, it was very hard. But what I'm going to say, just to finish this off, I think going through what myself and Freddie have done, I think that's made us into the characters we are now.
Yeah.
Being seeing what we seen at that age and going through what we went through, because we would say we are two characters, and I think that's enabled us to do what we do now from doing what we've done as youngsters.
Well, look, thank you, guys. Fascinating stories. And thank you for listening. If you're hearing this on 5 Live, you can download the podcast for an extended version of the show at the 5 Live website and all the usual podcast places. Don't forget you can watch the Table Tennis Classic on the 5 Live website. Please use the hashtag Fred, Sav, Syed to get in touch through the week. If you could leave a review on iTunes and give us a rating, that would be great. A big thank you to everyone who's done that already. We'll be back at the same time next week. But for now, from all of us, goodbye.
Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy.
Thank you for downloading this Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy podcast. Make sure you subscribe to receive the latest episodes automatically to your device every single week. And if you like this, then why not have a look at what else 5 Live has to offer at bbc.co.uk/5live.